I want to believe it's going to be a great one. Also, before I proceed, I just want to say that this is a good time to share the link on your stories, your WhatsApp status, so that we can have more people join. Um, one of the one of the great things you can give to people around you is, a skill. So I think it will be a good one if you can share with your WhatsApp groups, various WhatsApp groups, and so we can have more people. So without wasting our time any further, we're just going to go straight to the business of the day. All right. So okay. So today we're going to be looking at exchange online. Basically, I remember sometimes last year we have actually looked at exchange online, but I think this time around we just want to have a like a second look. And yeah, I just want us to be ready and brace up. There's going to be a Q&A sessions after this session, after this presentation. So if you have any questions or contributions, it will be very much welcome at the end of at the end of the session. All right. So let me just this is myself. Let me just do a bit of introduction for the sake of maybe someone that is just joining for the first time. My name is Deji Omitola. I am a cool guy. Let me just leave it like that. And I have a 6 years experience in the IT industry. I currently work with Hashem Limited, and I basically help organizations to deploy and manage various infrastructure services. And also, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I think I have a great understanding of various Microsoft 365 tools like Exchange Online, Microsoft Azure, AD Connect, and the like. So that is myself. And we have our speaker, our guest speaker for today, in the person of Oche Micheal. Oche Micheal is an Exchange Online specialist. That is his area of specialization. He has over 3 years of professional experience with passion driven by continuous learning and improvements in managing and deploying deployment of Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Entra. He is currently a Microsoft 365 Premier Support Engineer. So if you know what a Premier Support Engineer is, you know that is not a child's play. So he's currently a Premier Support Engineer with Microsoft 365, and we are happy to have him, take us through the journey of Exchange Online. Okay, then going forward, it is my honor to introduce again Madam Olajumoke Toriola, who is our host for today's event. She is a CTO at Hashem Limited. She's an MVP. She's an MCT. She's also currently a regional director for Microsoft, and she has 18 years of progressive work experience in IT. You know, she is also one of the leaders and co-founder of Textilers, and that's a community focused on bringing women into tech. So it is my honor to introduce Madam Olajumoke. Most of us already know her, but I just must introduce her again. All right. So before we go into the business of the day, before my our guest speaker takes over, I just want to mention some few housekeeping rules. So this session will be recorded and that will be made available for future viewing on our YouTube channels. Please let us endeavor to mute our microphones so that we do not disturb others. And we can always pen down our questions till the end of the presentation. We don't want to interrupt in the middle of the presentation. So there will be Q&A session at the end of it where you can ask the question. All right, and I have if you can on my screen now, I have various social media handles. That's us on Twitter. I think I would have to, I'm supposed to change it to X. It's no longer Twitter. So, and then that's LinkedIn and our YouTube channel. That's a quick link to the YouTube channel. You know. So thank you very much, and I believe it's going to be a very insightful one and a very engaging one today. So I'm going to hand over to the speaker right now. He's on the call, the person of Oche Micheal. Oche, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, yes, I can.
All right. Okay. So welcome on board, Oche. So I'm handing over to you now so you can share your screen and let's dive in.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, Deji?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, let me just show my face because I'm not sure. Okay, it's not gonna show. Okay. All right. Good day. My name is Oche, like Deji rightly said. I I currently work with Microsoft. So I'll just be bringing us through what I have here today. All right. So from our topic, we know that we'll be discussing on exchange online. Um, we can see that. Okay, hold on, please, just a minute. Let me put this thing in order. All right, I want to appreciate Deji for the invite. I want to appreciate the host, Olajumoke, Toriola, and each and every one of you. I may not know you yet, that we're able to speak within yourself to say, okay, let us bring up this young man for this session. Okay, so exchange online is a very broad topic, very, very broad. So we'll not be spreading across too many parts today because, of course, the limitation of the time and our capacity to be able to understand these things might be on different levels. Okay, so it's best that we just touch a few things, do a few definition of terms, and if time permits, we'll be able to do one or two practicals and answer some questions. Okay, so we'll just be doing a little bit of exchange online. I'll be doing a little bit of the definitions and all those things. So exchange online deep dive by me, Oche Micheal. Sorry, my name here is Eduball. Yeah, I have issues with my own personal Teams accounts currently. Okay, so the agenda, the things I want to highlight. All right. Number one, what is exchange online? So we are going to be using the word EXO most of the time, EXO, which is what we use, and its benefits. Okay. So whatever it is that exists that doesn't have benefits shouldn't be existing. All right. So the requirement to maximize EXO, there are things that we need to possess, right, before we can begin to make use of exchange online. These are basic things that we need to know. Then the functions of exchange online. Like I said initially, we may not be able to touch everything, but for the sake of this class, we just look at one or two that I think might be important for us. Then we'll do some practical examples, we'll answer your questions. Deji is also very experienced in this area, I know. So we should be able to answer some questions too, alongside myself and other experienced exchange online experts. And of course, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you thank you for these opportunities. All right, so let's just do a little bit of definition. What is exchange online? So I'll just read here, then I'll do a little bit of explanation. So Microsoft Exchange is a hosted messaging solution that delivers email, not just email. It deals with calendar, deals with contacts and tasks from PCs, the web and the mobile and also mobile devices, right? So it deals with emails, deals with calendar. When I first started working with, a Microsoft partner, I thought it was all about emails. That's what we all know. Outlook, just all about emails. Then we began to deep dive into calendar, started realizing how a little bit of technicalities, how technical the calendar platform is. And then there is something else that's called contact. Contact are not mailboxes. Contact are just regular users. All right. So all these things are captured in Exchange Online. And then we have tasks from PCs, the web, and mobile devices. So these are the three platforms that this Exchange Online can really function on your Windows machine, your MacBook. Those are speaking about PCs, and then on the web that's web browser, right? And then on your mobile devices. Perhaps some of us are currently joining this meeting with our mobile devices, so we know what I'm talking about. So it integrates fully with Microsoft Entra ID, you know, which some of you call the Azure. All right. So there's a lot of integration that goes on there. It also integrates with security and compliance, Exchange Online. In fact, it's more like the center of this Office 365 based system. Okay, so it integrates with a lot of things. So it enables administrator to use group policies, right? Enables administrator to use group policies. What are group policies? Policies that an organization might want to use. All right, so they just create a group policy. The moment somebody signs up or logs in, the group policy integrates into that user almost immediately. So as well as other administration tools to manage Exchange Online features across their environment. So in this class, you'll be seeing and learning quite a number of them, but not all of them. In fact, not up to, I will not be speaking about up to 10% of it because of the time that we have at hand. But I want you to know that Microsoft Exchange Online is very broad and it cuts across what I just highlighted to us all. The sweetest part about Exchange Online is the integrations that it has. You get to realize that it is integrated with security, it's integrated with Azure, it's integrated with on-premises, it's integrated with hybrid environment, it's integrated with a lot of things. Deji was speaking about AD Connect and the likes. So Microsoft Exchange Online is well vast, okay? And it's something that you might want to go into, build a career around it, I would advise, because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. All right, organizations that subscribe to Exchange Online retain control over the messaging services they offer to users. With the Exchange Online hosted plans described in this document, email is hosted on server that support multiple customers simultaneously. So Microsoft has a data center. I've worked with customers that they want to know where their data center is. All right. So just recently, I think 2019, Microsoft began to move data centers to other newer locations. So emails that you think have been deleted or have been, they are kept in data centers. Although you might not see them on your PC, on your mail or whatever. Emails, everything are stored in data centers, right? But not accessible, of course, by certain set of people, and accessible to users on a wide range of devices from inside the corporate network or over the internet, right? So that's a little bit of what Exchange Online does and what it entails. Okay, so I want to highlight a little bit of benefits of Exchange Online in the marketplace. Okay, somebody might be asking, okay, why do I need to learn Exchange? Why do I need to be a part of this class? Why do I need to, you know, pursue a career in Exchange Online, right? Aside from the fact that you can start making money off it, there are other benefits with why companies across the globe. I've worked with banks, Union Bank, UBA, They bring in their issues and then we discuss these things. So what is the benefit of exchange online in the marketplace? How do you convince someone to tell you, okay, I want you to make use of exchange online, I want you to buy the license, I want you to be a part of this process. Okay, I want you to put in your resources, trust Microsoft with your data, trust Microsoft with your product. Right? Maybe you're establishing a company and you want somebody to tell you what to do on how you want your mail flow to work and all those things. You bring Exchange Online to the person, you convince them, you tell them collaboration on critical documents. Right? So Microsoft has high level of security. Right? So there's a lot of collaborations. There are a lot of things, features in Exchange Online that helps us to maximize the criticalities of our documents. So we focus inbox prioritizing and important messages. So if you open the Outlook application, you should be able to see other messages and focused inbox. So there are emails that are spam, not necessarily spam, emails that are more like newsletters. They don't get mixed up with your original messages. So you are telling the person, you're trying to convince the organization that, okay, this is what I want you guys to do. This is one of the advantage of this. And there is more protection against spam and malware. All right, we've had people who left Microsoft, because of one or two glitches, and then they left, and then they are raising a ticket again saying, please, how can I do this? How can I return back? I want to move all my data from this particular. I'm not trying to downplay other security solution system, but I'm saying that Microsoft Office 365 Exchange Online has one of the best when it comes to data protection. All right, so protection against spam and anti-malware. This is one of the advantage that connecting and having and getting to know what Exchange Online does is one of the advantage. So lower total cost of ownership. I love this one. Now, when you buy into Exchange Online as a customer or whatever it is, or yeah, as a customer, a system, a conglomerate, when you buy into Exchange Online, Microsoft takes charge of the repairs, the the fixing of your issues. All right. So many users they raise ticket to Microsoft. Oh, I purchased a license, it's not functioning. I signed the mailbox is not working. I tried to do that. So Microsoft takes charge of it in fixing it and all those things. Even when you purchase a license, the license is not displaying, Microsoft can help you. Microsoft will refund you. So there is a lot of things that goes on. There's a lower total cost of ownership. More like even though you purchased it, Microsoft still try as much as possible to be there for you with it almost a 24-hour customer service system. Also, it allows your users to collaborate on projects, increase speed and communication quickly on Teams. They join and share information easily. Look at the way every one of us are here now effortlessly is because of Microsoft, of course. So it allows your users to collaborate on projects. So Exchange Online allows users to collaborate on projects, increase speed and communication. All right. So there is the mail flow, sending emails to bulk users, distribution group. There's what we call distribution group. Distribution group is like a box where users are inside. So when emails are sent, it gets sent into that distribution group. All right. Then there's another one that's called Office 365 group. All right. So it's also like distribution group, but there's a little difference between Office 365 group and distribution group. Office 365 group, when emails are sent to it, it goes into the box. But then users who are subscribed to the Office 365 group can then get that email also in their personal inbox. All right. But for a distribution group, when email is sent to distribution group, it goes into the personal inbox of the users. All right. So, but Office 365 group has a box, distribution group just goes straight to the user. So another point is it keeps all of your essential data in one place with Exchange archiving, retention policies, and large mailboxes. We've had situations where people for 7 years, they've locked their emails. Okay, this particular mail, we don't want to touch it. Our CEO is resigning. He has specific emails that should not be tampered with. So what do you do? What do we advise? We don't want this thing to get missing, because if you unlicense a mailbox for more than 30 days, all the emails will get lost. I'm sure some of us might know that. But for those of us who don't know, this is what the situation is. So when you unlicense a mailbox for more than 30 days, the emails in it will get missing, except for some exceptional cases like shared mailbox, where a shared mailbox does not need a license to sustain or to retain a mailbox. However, a shared mailbox more than cannot be more than 50 gig. If it's more than 50 gig, you need to assign a license to it. So there's exchange archiving. You archive your emails. 10 years ago emails, you archive them. You purchase the license that can work with archive. You keep it. Retention policies. I was thinking I was going to teach on this today, because I was telling Deji that I think I want to teach on retention policies, because I realized that most of us in exchange, we don't really know so much about it. So I wanted to teach about it, but of course, there will be no such time. So, and large mailboxes. Let me rush. Secure your sensitive data and notify the users of internal compliance policies with data loss protection. Most companies, especially in the US, have worked with them. They make use of data loss protection, especially the FBI's, especially very sensitive, the bureau system. They make use of data loss protection very well, very well. And it's a little bit complicated, but then if you can learn how to use data loss protection, boom. So it helps to prevent losses of data. It's quite different from retention policy. So, and there's also what we call a sensitivity label. It's not highlighted here. It also helps you for security purposes. So there is reliability and scalable email communication. So everything within Microsoft is transparent, especially the Exchange Online is transparent. So when you send an email, it's transparent. You can go to message trace and see it. I'm going to be discussing a little bit about message trace today. Now, bring all your contacts together. So there is what we call the GAL. It's called the Global Address List. Okay, I really wish I can be showing you each of these things on the Exchange platform as I'm discussing, but time. So brings all your users together, all your contacts together, and it blocks email threats before they arrive in your network. There's what we call NDR, non-delivery report. So if you have your Exchange Online security system set properly, you get to realize that 90% of the time, 95% of the time, you don't receive um, bad emails, all right? If you have the proper setup of your account. So you can tell that to a customer and say, okay, I want you to purchase Exchange Online license. I want you to come. So what are the requirements to use Exchange Online? You need a license. If you notice, I've been mentioning licenses for some time. You need a license to use Exchange Online. I currently have a license. That's why I'm able to use this my EduBall account. All right. I have an Office 365 E5 license that grants me access to a lot of features, within Microsoft. So you need a license. So you don't just come into Office 365, oh, I want to learn Exchange Online. You need a license. So Microsoft grants opportunity to have what we call the trial license. All right. So theoretically, there are 3 license plans strictly for Exchange. Number 1 is the Exchange Online kiosk. Number 2 is the Exchange Online Plan 1 and the Exchange Online Plan 2. Now, let me just talk about Exchange Online Plan 2. They all give an end user a mailbox. Now, each and every of these Exchange Online licenses, they give the end user a mailbox. Who is the end user? The customer, you, me. So the moment I purchase either of these licenses, it gives me a mailbox. All right, and some additional benefits. However, this additional benefit is based on the kind of license that you bought. So the prices of these licenses are in um, they vary in price. All right, in prices. Now, the priciest of the 3 has some advanced features like capability of in-place or litigation hold. So if I was going to talk about retention policies, I will have highlighted and explained what in-place and litigation hold means. Meanwhile, what they just do is to store emails. Now, a company um can be functioning, of course. If a company is functioning properly, they have a lot of data they want to preserve. Okay, and they want to be preserving emails that are 2 years old. When an email completes 2 years, lock it up into this place. Not just email, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, details, data. We want to store these emails for 2 years. They use what we call in place old. All right. Use what we call in place old. So it stores it for 2 years. If there's time, I can show you on the admin center how this works. So you just any user that comes into the organization, automatically the default MRM policy kickstart on that user, and then the in-place hold it's on that user. And then there's litigation hold is used to store emails. You cannot delete permanently from that mailbox when litigation hold is on the user. All right. You can't delete. You can only move emails from one place to another, from one folder to another, from emails to archive. You cannot permanently delete. But the disadvantage here is that when the litigation hold is lifted, emails that should have been deleted for some time, they can all be wiped out almost at a goal. All right. I've been here when I was studying, when I was starting up. All right. So Microsoft Purview DLP. Now you cannot get a DLP. So for a very serious organization who wants to save their data using the data loss protection, like when you're talking about data loss protection, we are talking about sensitivity keys, sensitive informations, all right? User ATM pin, SSN security number, these things that they have in the United States. I think almost every one of them have this security number. So people store those things. So in here, so when you're sending an email that has this very um very sensitive keys, sensitive information, users make use of data loss protection. It's very broad to talk about, to teach. It's very broad, but so we'll not be dealing on that today. And then you need also the Exchange Online Plan 2 for Exchange Online archiving. All right, I've seen users who say, okay, I want to archive my emails, but they have Exchange Online kiosk. Okay, you can't. Okay, so you need this particular license to be able to maximize Exchange Online. To be able to get the best out of Exchange Online, you need the best of licenses. However, if you are starting up, you want to learn, you can just do a quick trial license. You can just, maybe when you set up, give yourself a global administrator account, you set up, you give yourself a trial license. It lasts for a month. Okay, it lasts for a month. You can do all the things that you want to do. One of the benefits of Exchange Online is that when you know it, you have access to work in any and most of the companies that make use of Microsoft products. Yes, most of them, most of these companies in Nigeria, UBA, Union Bank, they make use of Outlook. I used to work with Union Bank 2018 stroke 19 stroke 20. They make use of Outlook and all those things. And then so if you master the craft, master the work, learn it, give yourself practical examples and work towards it, I think it's going to be of great benefit to you career-wise. Now, there are other licenses that you can purchase, right? There's Office 365 Business Basic. So this one deals with Outlook on the web, all right? So when you have Office 365 Business Basic, I think it should be about $6 per month or thereabout, or 7. If you have Office 365 Business Basic, maybe you purchase it or you have a trial license, you cannot have the app, right? There's Office 365 Business. It gives you Outlook app. All right, it gives you the application. Then the third one, Office 365 Business Standard. It gives you access to Outlook app and Outlook on the web. Okay, so if you have this license, meanwhile, there are other licenses like Office 365 E3, Office 365 E5 Developer, and hundreds of them, of 20s or more of them like that. All right, so for the sake of this class, we just talk about Business Standard. You can also have the Office 365 E5. All right, I think most people use that one. Okay. Another thing we need for us to be able to maximize and to make use of Exchange Online properly is permissions. Permissions. Now, somebody may have a license to do certain things, but it doesn't have permissions to do those things. You see, number one, your license determines your permission. If you have high licenses, if you have high license like E5 business standard, you have access to do certain things, to make changes on certain things. Now, global roles in Microsoft Entra ID allow you to manage permissions and access to capabilities in non-Microsoft 365, which also include Exchange Online. But if you need to limit permission and capability to features in Exchange Online, you can assign Exchange Online permission in the Exchange Admin Center, EAC, in Exchange Online and also in Exchange Online PowerShell. So we will not be dealing with PowerShell today at all. It's a whole new it's a different class entirely. All right, to deal with Exchange Online PowerShell. But if you are good with Exchange Online PowerShell, believe me, you are a step ahead. Now, there's what we call global roles. Global admin. So when you open an account, automatically the person who opens that account becomes the global admin to that account. So as a global admin, you have access to do 98% of the things in an Office 365 environment. And because we are speaking on Exchange Online, you have access to do almost everything. But then the reason why I did not say 100% is because within that 2% or 3% that is left, you need to grant yourself certain rules to make certain changes. Right. So to make these changes, you just go to this website, admin dot exchange of Microsoft.com/admin roles. You go there, you begin to make those modifications. You need to be a member of the organization role group in Exchange Online, specifically the role management role in Exchange Online. Allow users to view, create, modify Exchange Online roles group by default. The role is assigned only to organization management role group. You may not be able to fully understand this now until when you want to make certain changes and they tell you that you don't have permission to do this. You'll be like, I'm a global admin. I'm a global admin. Yes, I've seen customers saying those things. I'm a global admin. Why can't I make changes? Okay, come, let me show you. So you are there, I'm showing you organization management. Click on this. Okay, you need this permission to be able to make these changes. You are selecting certain things just to make sure that, oh, this is why I can't do this. Yes. All right. If you have worked with Exchange Online before, there's what we call content search. Sometimes you want to make changes on content search, or you want to download file. Maybe you are looking for a mail, you can't find it in your email. All right. Maybe it was deleted or it was moved to archived and you can't find it there. So there's what we call content search in the security environment. So you go there, you create a condition within the email that you are looking for. All right. So you search. um Exchange Online begins to search whatever it is that search using the content search. It searches into the content and it brings out the size of emails that look like what you are looking for. You download it. Of course, your email should be there, all right, except it has been fully purged or finally purged. If it's there. Now, sometimes you want to download what you have seen, what content search has given you. You find out that you don't have the rule. It's telling you that you don't have the rule, and you start to feel somehow like, why can't I? Why can't I? Why can't I? So customers raise requests and be like, why can't we do this? There is a permission. In fact, from the error to tell you that you need a particular permission. Sometimes it's compliance administrator. All right. Another time you are seeing organization management role group in Exchange Online. All right. So if somebody brings an issue to you concerning Exchange Online, you're looking like, if this person is a global admin, this person knows what he's saying. You need to calm down and reflect within yourself and say, okay, I think this person doesn't have a certain permission. Ours is to go and look and say, okay, this is what is causing this, not to happen. All right. So role-based access permission mode use right away to easily grant permissions to admin and users. All right. So you just tell you to go and study more on this. There are a lot of role-based access control, role-based. So maybe you're the kind of administrator that believe and you trust in certain users in the organization, all right, to do certain things. You don't want to be doing it for them all the time. So you can go in there. You don't need to give them a global admin role to be able to do 98% of things before they delete everybody in the tenant. So what you do, you go to this same site here, these admin roles, all right? You select the user and you give him certain permissions. Sometimes just to be able to, create, just to be able to modify or to download. Maybe it's a user that uses content search all the time, all right? So you just give them the permission there. So you study more on RBAC because that's not our central focus. I'm just trying to explain um what what we need for Exchange Online. Now, the function of Exchange Online. In here lies the unlimited capabilities of EXO. Although some features have been moved to security and compliance since they are security-based issues. Even though they are security-based issues, they are still Exchange Online related. All right. So there is an unlimited. I personally type this. In here lies the unlimited capabilities of Exchange Online. Unlimited. It means that why I said unlimited is that I myself who is speaking to you and every other lecturer, I work with a lot of SEE, senior escalation engineers, and you are bringing certain cases to them, and they're like, "Whoa, Oche, where did you see this case from?" I'll be like, "Sir, I also don't know." So they say, "Okay, let's troubleshoot it together." So we are looking into it. We are giving you, then we are sending those cases to PG. They call them product group. Product group can be with those cases for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Day two, they are trying to figure out what happened. All right, but there are very little of those cases because most of the mysteries we had exchange online has been uncovered. However, there are still many more mysteries that are coming out. I have a case I've been working with since February 16th. We are still dealing with them. The case has gone to SE, it has gone to SME, so it's a calendar issue, right? Reminders, whenever the user type in reminder, it just disappears. All right, we've taken all the logs necessary. So it's an unlimited platform where you keep learning, so now let's touch on some of these power features in Exchange Online. Now, first one I want to address is mail flow. We cannot discuss Exchange Online without mail flow because this is the primary reason why most people are using Office 365 Exchange Online, because of mail flow. Mail flow speak of how emails are being routed, the routing of email, connecting of emails, and the conditions. Mail flow speak of how emails how emails are routed, all right, then the connections of emails, all right. You see, you can send an email to different users in different tenants. If you don't understand the word tenant, I mean organizations in different domains. I can be here now and send email across the globe, all right, as long as everything, the settings are correct, the modifications are made rightly, you find out that the emails get delivered successfully. That's what I mean by connecting emails. And the conditions. The conditions must be met for mail flow to be effective. So we cannot discuss Exchange Online without mail flow. From the word itself, you know that okay, mail flow, mail flow, mail flow. So a fish is swimming from point A to point B. There is a flow. Along the way, it met a shark. Why did the fish delay? A shark swallowed it. Why did the fish not get to point B? The shark swallowed it, or it met a roadblock, or there was so much turbulence the fish could not swim through. So there are a lot of conditions that must be met in order for the shark not to swallow your mailbox. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So the flow of the emails. So now that will bring us to the first thing. How do I analyze the flow of a mailbox? I'll use message trace. Okay, I sent an email to you, Deji. The email was not getting delivered. I've been sending an email. I'm not getting a feedback why the email is not getting delivered. And you're also not getting the email on your end. So who should do a message trace? I should be the one to do a message because I'm the one sending the message. He is not getting the message. It means that he cannot do a message trace. I will do a message trace. I will check, okay, I send the email from my side. So I'm the sender. Maybe we'll do a practical of this. I'm the sender, is the recipient. So I put in my message trace, I check it. Oh, something happened along the way. All right. Some people have third-party filtering solution, like if you've heard of it before, proof points, we call it PP, um, Barracuda. Um, there's one forgotten. If any of you, does any of you know any third-party filtering solution apart from these two? Are we here?
Yes, so yeah, those
Okay.
are like the major common ones.
Yeah. So yeah,
Esther,
Barracuda. I'm trying to remember
ah,
one. All right. So message trace helps to give us details on email routing,
um,
how the emails got delivered, or why did the email fail? Why did it not
Yes,
get delivered?
the
So we,
back
we might check we might check on that. All right. Now,
is now.
speaking of
Say to be
conditions, now under conditions we
see
have
that
rules. All right, rules
horrible.
to identify and take action on messages that flow through your organization. All right, rules to do what? To identify and take action on messages that flow through your organization. So somebody is saying that, okay, I want to send a message to Deji. I don't want the email to to you know to get to this particular person because maybe they have a forwarding rule configured. So you can go and bypass, so you disable that rule. All right. Or I want to be sending a message to Deji, but any message I send to him should be routed to, let's say, for instance, Esther or Funke. All right. So I create a rule, a transport rule. All right. It's called transport rule on Deji's account. Say, okay, anytime I send an email to Deji, let the emails be automatically routed to Deji, to Esther, without Deji's knowledge. And administrator has the permission to do this kind of a thing. All right. So you want to create a rule. There are a lot. There are a lot things. There are a lot of things that we can do with transport rule. A lot of things. All right. We can bypass spam filtering. We can do forwarding emails. We can create certain levels of condition. We can delete emails. We can move emails from one folder to another. You know, a lot of things. And then the next one is remote domain. So what this does is control the types of format of message that your user sends from Messenger Online to recipients in in um in external domains. Now this is basically for external domains. So remote domains does what it control of the types and the format of messages that users send from Messenger Online to recipients in external domains. Look at examples. Examples are OOF. What is OOF? OOF is out of office messages. So somebody is out of office, right? What does it do? He before he leaves, he creates an out of office on his mailbox. All right. So maybe I'm sending an email from Gmail and I'm using flyi.live, which is a domain registered under Office 365. All right. I'm using fly or I'm using abc.com, which is a domain registered under Office 365. It means that it's being managed by Microsoft. So, and I'm receiving an email from Gmail or Yahoo Mail, right? And I'm not in the office. So what this does is it sends the OF to the user, say, hey, this person is not around. So when you don't enable the remote domain, what happens? The person doesn't get it. There's automatic reply, there's auto forwarding, and the NDR. NDR is the non-delivery report. All right. The next thing there is accepted domain. All right. Accepted domain is one of the most used tool also in this exploration of Exchange Online. Accepted domain. Accepted domain in Microsoft 365 or Office 365 allow users in the domain to send and receive emails. All right. You can send email, you can receive email, you can send email, you can receive emails when accepted domain is turned on. So when we go to our admin.microsoft.exchange, admin.exchange.microsoft, something like that, you are going to be able to make use of this. Now, configure in Exchange to receive um, email messages. It can be authoritative, all right? Under the accepted domain, there are two types. It can be authoritative domains. So it's configured with email addresses for recipients, all right? Or relay domains. Accept messages, but can what? But don't generate NDR for non-existing recipients. So accepted domain, authoritative what domains. Spending much time on these things. Now, connector are tools that enable mail flow and security between Office 365 and other email services. From the word connector, you know that okay, connector, something connecting one thing to another. So let's say, for instance, you have an Exchange on-premises server because most people are in Exchange in cloud now, but they still have on-premises server. They don't want to shut it down. They don't want to stop using the on-premises server. They have a lot of their details there. They don't want to go through the rigorous steps of migrating everything to Office 365 and then tried to reconfigure. They don't want to lose mail, but they don't want to lose emails. They don't want to shut down the operations of their system. So what do? They have connectors that can help them to manage the mail flow. All right. And then they have third-party applications like photocopy machine or whatever it is. I'll be discussing this later. They have those things. Now you create a connector. All right. But if you are purely in Exchange Online, you're sending emails to external users and then you are you are sending emails to just your internal users. You don't need the connector. What are you connecting? All right. EOP, Exchange Online Protection, will be there to help you manage everything. Exchange Online is pure within the cloud. But if you have a lot of external dealings, you might eventually get to need a connector. This is this one is a full 2-3 hours of lecture to be able to understand connector and how to create a functional connector. We use IP address, we use domains to connect them, and you have to skip last IP and all those things. So it's very, very needed. Now, this is going to lead me to this. If you are currently on your Exchange Admin Center, you see HVE. Now, most of us don't know this because it's a new platform, a new development that Microsoft has just started. In fact, it's just about 2 months and 8 days old. All right, it's just about 2 months and 8 days old. Now, over the months, over the years, Microsoft don't do bulk messaging. Microsoft don't do bulk messaging. It's one of the reasons why most people they have Microsoft, of course, they have Exchange Online, but they make use of what is it called? Third party to handle their bulk SMSs. So when you try to send before now, when you try to send bulk SMSs using Microsoft, using Exchange Online, you are going to get a lot of NDRs. Because you are going to be breaching the Exchange Online um, permission, service permission. Forgotten that word. You are going to be breaching the description that has already been created. All right, that okay, you cannot send emails more than 100 in a day, more than 30 in a day, more than one person cannot send more than 1,000 and all those things. So there is a full lecture note on these limitations that Microsoft has when it comes to bulk messaging or bulk mailing. All right. But now, recently, Microsoft has been able to look within themselves and crafted out something new. All right. Now, this is going to help our users to escape from the whole high volume, okay, trying to get a third party to help me to undo my bulk messaging. And I was looking through this thing, began to study more about it. All right. And I saw that it's of great advantage. Number one, it's going to help the security system of Microsoft. Now, because most of the time, because Microsoft has customers, I've dealt with customers that have 5,000 users, 50,000 users, especially when they are partners. All right. When I joined the Premier team, I began to realize the partner Premier team. I began to realize that there are users, there are partners that deal with 10,000 users, and they have 10,000 users for 10,000 different 10 companies have about 10,000 users individually. Like, so you can imagine not sending bulk SMSs. You see now, so it's going to be a lot of burden on them. So they have to pay new amount of money to some users out there, all right, to some third-party filtering solution to help them. Okay, help us to manage our bulk SMSing. All right. We don't know if we can trust you like the way we trust Microsoft, but since Microsoft doesn't do it, you should be able to do it. Now Microsoft is saying, okay, you know what? We want to increase our trust with you guys. We want to buy more of your trust. So now we are bringing what we call HVE, high volume email for Microsoft 365. Microsoft is bringing up something new. So what does it do? High volume email for Microsoft is mainly for internal communication. And currently, Microsoft has a limit of 2,000 external recipients per day. All right, 2000. So if you have a tenant, like I said, tenant is like an organization. You have an Office 365 environment. You have all the necessary licensing. You have your right mailbox and everything. That's a tenant. All right. So if you have a company that you are running, you have everything set, your mailing platforms are working fine, you have a tenant. So not tenant like landlord employed or something, no. Tenant like you are the owner. So HV is mainly for internal mass communication. So you can send to your internal users. So you have 10,000 users. You can send emails to them in bulk. You want to pass a large information to your users. HVE is the go-to place now. So you don't have to say, okay, you know what? Before, what we do before, what we advise customers whenever they want to send bulk SMS, you say, okay, send to 500 now. Tomorrow, send to 1,000, like that, like that. We start breaking it down. Most customers, they get furious and say, I'm going to leave Microsoft. You guys are not giving me what I want. I'm not getting value for my money. All right. So the complaints are now being sorted. I believe that with time, because it's a new product and it's still being propagated in the Microsoft space, that's why it's still on 2,000 external recipients per day. But it's a good one. Sending emails to 2,000 recipients per day, of course. Now, recipient rate limit 100,000 per tenant. So if you have 100,000 users, you can send as an Office 365 person. When I saw this feature, I was so excited because it's going to reduce a lot of burdens, all right, of customers calling and say, why can't I send? Why can't, did I breach the limit? Did I do this? It's going to reduce. So these are advantages in the marketplace that we can use to gain, customers trust, or to tell somebody that, okay, this and this and that. All right. So I want to encourage us again, learn Exchange Online, right? There's a lot, especially with these new features and Copilot, AI powering, there's going to be a lot of simplicity to the effect of this work. Now, you can send to 1,000 users. HV account 20. That means that more than 20 users, sorry, at least 20 users, at most, sorry, 20 users can send these bulk emails within your organization. So, for instance, I am there, I'm an admin in a tenant, Deji is there, Joy is there, Funke is there, Peace is there, Christy is there, Philip is there. Now, I can create 20 users to send emails like that, all right? And they don't necessarily have to be user mailboxes. That's a good thing. So they are mail users, all right? So there's a documentation that I can drop, you see. Now, the next thing is HVE allows you to create mail users up to 20 during the preview in brackets. So in Exchange Online, that can send messages using a specific SMTP endpoint. Now, this will bring me to SMTP as a whole. All right. I'm not sure if most of us have worked with SMTP relay, SMTP submissions, direct send, and all those things. All right. So to understand more about HV, so that we'll not spend all our time and years here. Right. Let me see the time. Okay. Wow. So to understand more about HV, there's this article. I don't know if it's something I should open for us to see. Okay, I'm not sure I can open it from here. All right. So to understand how SMTP client submission and SMTP relay works, okay, let me just open this here now. See, this is what we are discussing. Look at my mouse. There's Microsoft 365 high volume email. All right, Microsoft 365 high volume email. There's SMTP relay. This is what most people use before now to send bulk emails. All right, they use SMTP relay. Meanwhile, they still use third parties to organize this particular thing. But Microsoft is saying, you know what, we are coming fully to take ownership of this thing using the volume, the high volume email. All right, there's a lot to discuss on this. There is a lot, a lot to discuss on this. Because if we begin to deep dive into this now, you begin to see, okay, how we will learn how to, configure SMTP relay, SMTP client submission, and all those things. Now, let's just differentiate them a little. Send to recipient in your domain. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So, please hold on. Let me show us something. Um, hmm, I think it's important that we look into this so that we'll not just bypass it. Right. So we can understand the importance of the of the um of the volume, high volume, email that Microsoft is bringing in now, and the stress that you not really have to go through. Now, this is how people do send emails before. So, how to you set up a multifunction device or application to send emails using Microsoft 365, Office 365. So now, the first step, most of the time, right, is using SMTP client submission. So from my PowerPoint, you see that there is the SMTP client submission, right? Now, this option is compatible with security defaults in Microsoft Entra. We could recommend using modern authentication when connecting with our services. All right. So you must also verify that SMTP authentication is enabled for mailbox being used. So in order for you to be able to use this particular thing, you need to have all these things that are written here set. Now, this is the setup for that. When do I use this application? When do I use it? I want to email, I want to send an email to certain people, all right, using a device, using my printer. You can send an email from a printer. Yes, you can send an email from a printer to all your users in the organization. So authenticate your device or application directly with a Microsoft 365 or 365 mailbox and send mail using SMTP authentication client submission. So you look at this documentation. All right. So we cannot look into them today, all of it, to send those email using certain ports. All right. Now, then there's another one, direct send. Then my point I want to make here is in the third one. It said Office option 3, configure a connector to send emails using Microsoft 365 or SMTP relay. So in order for you to use the SMTP relay, you need to create a connector. Look at this statement. This option is more difficult to implement than others. All right. So you need to, let me show you now. All right. So your environment need to have SMTP or disabled. In the other one, it said you need SMTP auth enabled. Here, you need it disabled. You need your SMTP client submission option 1 isn't compatible with your business or needs device. Meanwhile, the first one is limited when you try to send to bulk users. All right, is way limited. You can't use direct send, which is option 2, because you cannot send to external users using option 2. So this is a no-go area for most organizations. They don't use this one. Okay. Now I'm telling you why we need the is it the HV now? High volume emails. Why is needed? So Microsoft was able to collapse these three things together and say, okay, there is a way we can bridge this gap. All right. So now SMTP relay of a 365, it use a connector that's configured with a TLS certificate, blah 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 blah. A lot of back and forth when you want to use the SMTP relay. And most of the time, I've worked on this quite a number of times. You begin to experience a lot of issues, a lot of NDRs, you know, here and there, there and there, here and there. Now you need to configure an inbound connector in order for this to be able to function effectively. For most of the time, you still need to create MX records to point, right, to Microsoft to be able to set up this properly. There's no time to explain how to set it up, but if you want to know about it, look at step-by-step configuration for SMTP relay here. All right. Now look at this part. How Microsoft 365 for SMTP relay works. The Microsoft 365 Office 365 connector that you configure authenticate your device or application with Microsoft 365. Your device or application can send email using any address, including the one that cannot receive emails, more like a mail user. A mail user is a user that is within your organization that doesn't have a license, that doesn't have a mailbox. All right. Most of the time you can call them contact, guest users. It's a little bit different from guest users, but of course, because guest users can receive email, so it's not a guest user. Contact mail users. So when users are synced from Office 365 to from on-prem to Office 365, you see them, they appear as mail users in your organization. Okay. So SMTP relay uses a connector to authenticate emails sent from your device or application. This authentication method allows Microsoft 365 to relay those messages to your own mailboxes and external recipients. All right, it does this too. All right, it sends emails to external recipients. You can't use SMTP relay to send emails directly to Microsoft 365 or Office 365 from a third-party hosted service such as Microsoft Azure. Now, we'll now come back to our HV. So you study on all these things. Now, the image I got it from here. All right. Now, you study on all these things. Now, see. Uh, from current slide. All right. So the difference is here now, what I was highlighting. So when you use SMTP relay, all right, can I bypass anti-spam? No. Suspicious email might be filtered, but we recommend a custom SPF record. What this is saying is that it's not so much secure. All right. So Microsoft just add a little bit of security in it. So SPF record. Now, the HV said yes, if the email is destined for one of your Microsoft mailbox of the 365 mailbox, yes, we can bypass. But if it's not, it will never pass through. That's what it's saying. Now, number two, the next one is support mail sent from application hosted by a third party. Yes. Remember, I read it to us. No. So it doesn't support mail sent from application hosted by a third party. I know this might be a little bit difficult for those of you who are not in Exchange Online to comprehend now, but in the, you know, as you deep dive into it, you would understand what this is speaking of. So it supports mail sent from application hosted by a third party. Yes. All right. So I can use it to send emails. So this one, the SMTP client submission, I can use, it supports emails that it's sent from a third party. All right. But then there is limitation to the numbers of emails. All right. However, this one that has unlimited access does not support it. It becomes a challenge. So Microsoft is saying, you know what? Let us collapse the two. Let's collapse SMTP client submission and SMTP relay into Microsoft 365 high volume email. And it's yes. Does it save to sent item folder? No. When you send bulk emails, it's telling you that it doesn't save. No and no. Right? This one will argue it with product group. So open network ports. So it opens for port 587. Most of the time, most of us know port 25. But this opens for port 587 alone. So if somebody is trying to configure this one, is trying to work on it, and is using port 25, I'm getting bounced back. Why is it not working? Port 587. So most of the time when you want to deal issues, you want to resolve an issue, you want to work on an issue. Maybe you are working in an organization as their Exchange Online administrators experts. Right? These are necessary details that you must take cognizance of. The way I study these things is I pick a topic and I read almost everything about it. I may not grasp everything at that instance, but I read it, and as I begin to work with my customers, work with my colleagues, we are getting to learn more by the day. Right? There are questions you ask now, just be like, okay, I need to study on these things. This is how it works. Because even the SEEE are still on, deep research on these things. It get broadens by the day. So you must catch up. We must catch up, right? It's a very simple platform, but we must be very attentive and pay attention to details. There was an issue I worked on. They've been dealing with that issue for like 3 months. And the day the issue came to me, I just collected the AMT, that's the extended message trace, look into why the email was being delayed, some particular glitch. They asked 1 or 2 questions. There was a third party filtering that was hiding, you know, that was hiding. It was so strange. I just asked. It was not like I even knew that okay, this thing was going to resolve this issue. I just say, what is this particular name? And they say, oh, we used to have one, blah blah blah, and that's how they went to disable it. The email started going through again. So we must learn to pay attention to details. When you want to deal with testing online, it's not, you don't want to just rush, right? You don't want to rush through it. You want to master it and learn it, especially mail flow. Now let's go faster. Device or application server must support TLS. Is required. For SMTP, is not required. It's optional. But for um, the volume email, is highly required. Right. So the last one here is requires authentication. Microsoft 365 Office 365 username and password is required. So for that mail user, remember I explained mail user, and I said that if you want to make use of the SMTP relay, the Microsoft iVolume email during this preview, you don't need to have a user mailbox, right? You only need a mail user. That means you can just create a user from your head. So if I have my tenant now, um, so I have my tenant. This is my tenant, okay, and these are all my users here in this tenant, okay. I don't need to use one of those users for my SMTP relay sending of emails or for my Microsoft iVolume email. I don't need to use one of them. That's what it's trying to tell you. That we can use a mail user. I can just craft a name. I can use um Said Sunday. And Said Sunday is not in a list of my users. So I can use them, just create them, create a username and password, and use them to send emails. All right. So SMTP relay is saying one or more must be static IP for SMTP relay. Your printer or the server running your line of business app must have a static IP address to use authentication with Microsoft 365 and Office 365. It becomes an impediment and a limitation. Why? Because some people don't use static IP addresses. So because of SMT relay, you just need to have it. All right. So in this space now, Office 365, I can send you an email. You are seeing an IP. I send you an email tomorrow. You are seeing a different IP. So diversities of IPs speaks of it says that it's trying to say that that email is dynamic. That IP is rather is dynamic. But when it's static, it's one single IP address all the time. When you put a dynamic IP using trying to use when you try to use a dynamic IP to work with SMTP relay, it won't function effectively. All right, as we seek to round up so we can ask questions and just look at 1 or 2 more things and then we go. There are security protocols. I've been talking about security. One of the advantages that Microsoft Exchange Online has over every other platform is security. This I can tell you for free is security. I've heard in times past that one of the most difficult things to breach into is is um is bank. Like you can hardly breach into a bank database system. Why? Because they use Java, and Java happens to be a very strong security um, programming system. Whatever it is, I don't program, so but I just heard that. I don't know how true that is. But then, why I'm saying is because the way these people boast about these things is the way we in Microsoft boast about our security protocols. Whenever at any point there is a security breach, maybe 1 out of 100,000, there's usually this, desire to want to know why, especially for someone like me. You want to know why. Why did this thing go through? You collect the original email. We collect from the original email. We are looking at the message, the message header. Let me see if I can open my Outlook so that maybe this can drive us to. So I've not opened the Outlook in a while. I don't use it. So now, security. Security. Number one I want to speak of here is DMAC, DKIM, and SPF. So I was speaking to Deji. He was like, okay, let us look into these parts, right? So there are a lot of things that comprise of Office 365 security protocol. But this one that we are discussing now is the basic foundation. All right. So in the next slide, I'm going to be telling us what they fully mean individually. But what do they do? So SPF, DKM, and DMAC help to authenticate email senders by verifying that the emails came from the domain that they claim to be from. These three authentication methods are important to preventing spam, phishing attacks, and other email securities. Now, we all know what is called Yahoo boys. Without the SPF, DKM, and DMAC, maybe there will be a lot of cars on the street today by people who are not even supposed to have cars. It means that they will send spam emails and users will receive them. They'll click on those links. It will link them to somewhere. So most people now don't use emails for their fraudulent acts. You must be really good for you to be able to use emails, right? Or maybe someone within the organization breach the trust of that organization to give you passwords of people that matters and all those things. Even in the state of password, all right, there is still what we call MFA. All right, there's what we call YubiKey and all those things. Security platforms, security protocols that Microsoft has brought in. But for the sake of email protocols, we are going to be discussing on DMAC, DKIM, and SPF. All right. So what they do are these things. So they prevent phishing attacks, and other securities risk. So together, they help to prevent spammers. I was speaking about them recently, just shortly. Spammers, phishers, and other unauthorized parties from sending emails on behalf of a domain they do not own. There's what we call spoof, SPOOF. Now, what that spoof means is that, look at this lady on this screen now. If I say I want to spoof like this lady, you see, let's say for instance, she's going into the office, maybe she's coming or she's going out of the office, whatever it is. If we are saying that we are spoofing this lady, this if we spoof this lady now, I'm going to exactly look like her, but I'm not her. My content, what is inside me, is not inside her, but outwardly, all right, that is, somebody will see me and say, this is, let's say her name is Alice, this is Alice. Now, what that means is that if customer has a domain called xyz at abc.com, what is the domain there? The domain is abc.com. So the domain is usually the the text or the words after the at, like oxy at gmail.com. So the domain is gmail.com, more like a website. All right, somebody just learned something now. So that's the domain. So they will spoof the domain, and I've seen it over and over again. And somebody is saying that, why is xyz at abc.com sending emails to the users at abc.com when the user is not even online, the user is not active currently, the user is off work, the user system is in the office? How? Somebody is called spoofing. All right, so somebody spoof. Now, what this does is to track, all right, this security system, it tracks users that they claim they are from this domain, but they are not. All right, then let me go ahead of myself. Now, DKIM and SPF help to demonstrate legitimacy of an email. That's what they do. So if an email is coming, you don't just, many times we just receive emails and we're happy that the email has come in. There's a lot that has gone underground. That's what message trace does for us. It helps us to track what has gone around. And then message header will help us to also figure this out. I'm not sure we'll be able to touch that again today. So meanwhile, DMARC tells mail server what to do when DKIM or SPF fails, whether that is meaning the failing emails as spam, delivering the emails anyway, or dropping the emails together. What this means is that if I send an email to you and DKIM and SPF fails, they say we don't recognize the legitimacy of this email. DMARC, which is the third one, we tell them that, you know what, let us drop this email. That's why I say that sometimes emails don't get delivered. They say, how will the DKIM fail? How will the SPF fail? All right. Now, the domain that have not set up SPF, DKIM, and DMARC correctly may find their emails getting quarantined, getting spammed, or not delivered, getting blocked, NDR, non-delivery report are being sent. They are also in danger of having spammer impersonate them. The keyword there is impersonate, not just to send emails, but they impersonate. They behave as though they are you. Now, one of these protocol is set to deal with impersonation. At some point in Gmail, I believe they started this thing late December or earlier this year. If you send an email, last year, if you send an email to Gmail, for those of us that are familiar, if you don't have your DMARC, DKIM, and SPF records set, it will not get delivered. So then we're getting a lot of complaints. Customers were complaining that my email is not getting delivered, my email is not getting delivered, my email. Why? Because of what? There is no SPF record, there is no DMARC record, and there is no what? DKIM record set on that domain. All these things I've said, everything needs to be practicalized. Everything, like 100% of it. But today has gone. Now, a sender policy framework is what we call SPF. Sender policy framework. What does it do? Record is a type, is a type of record. Okay. Sender policy framework is a type of DNS TST record that lists all the servers authorized to send emails from a particular domain. To understand this deeply, we might need to even go and first of all go and study what we mean by DNS records. Not record. There's the A record, there's the AAA record, there's the CNAME, MX record, and the likes. All right. Some IPv4, IPv6, IPv6, A record for website, and all those things. So um, let's just proceed to understand theoretically. Now, that lists all the servers authorized to send emails from a particular domain. So what this does, it lists all the servers authorized to send emails from a particular domain. Do you understand? So across the globe, all domains that are properly validated, that have SPF in them, they know the kind of emails that they should receive. They know who they should receive emails from. If they don't see SPF record on that domain, the email goes to junk. So one of the reasons why an email will go to spam is because, right, it doesn't have SPF record. Look at the next point. If an SPF record does not have a sender's IP address or domain on its list, it's just like you are coming to a party and they said this party is strictly by invitation. When you show up, nobody will pursue you just yet until they say, what's your name? And you say, Funke Ajayi. They check. They saw Funke Philip. They say, sorry, sir, you have to go back. Now, this is what SPF does. All right. It doesn't really pursue. You just say, stay by this side. Let me go and check somebody else. Let me go and check. You say, no, I know somebody inside. You now go and call DKIM. Come, do you know this person? DKIM will not validate. Oh, it was a mistake. Oh, this is why we cannot. Do you understand? Before the email can come in. But meanwhile, what SPF will first do is to first throw you into junk or spam. Sometimes it will reject you and say, you can't come in. All right. So the receiving server will either not deliver those emails or mark them as spam. So SPF record must follow certain standard for the server to understand how to interpret its content. Here's an example of how SPF record looks. So this is how SPF record looks. All right. So you can keep adding into this. You can keep adding into this. All right. So when you want to set up your MX record, Microsoft will automatically give you these records that you just go ahead and then you set it. When you set this record, it goes database wide. Yeah, right. So when you send an email, all right, please hold on. All right. So when you send an email, what happens? The email, when you send an email, the email goes in search and say, okay, who has the SPF record? Can this guy send email? Yes, he has the SPF record. So that's for SPF, is to search on the list if you are validated, if you are part of us or you are not part of us. That's one. Two, DKIM record. DKIM record is domain keys identify mail. All right. It's a method of email authentication that helps prevent spammers and other malicious parties from impersonating a legitimate domain. You say that it's different, its function is different from SPF. This one, it deals with spoofers, people that want to, you know, impersonate a legitimate domain. So it's a method of authentication that helps prevent spammers from other malicious parties from impersonating a domain. Domain uses digital signature scheme based on public key cryptography, all right, to authenticate where an email came from. That is, actually came from a server that sent email from that domain. So like I said about the lady, the Alice lady, I said somebody can spoof her, somebody can impersonate her, look exactly like her. So the assignment of DKIM record is to go and check is which of them is the real thing. So you use the public key cryptography. I don't know how the mechanism of that works, but all I know is that the DKIM uses the public key cryptography to check and say, oh, this one is illegitimate, this one is legitimate. And when it's illegitimate, it sends it off. All right. The last one there is the DMARC record. Let me show us something. I've been working on a case. I hope it's still there. MX toolbox. Now you want to confirm if a user has the whole record sect. That domain is not here for now. So these are some of the ones I've worked on recently. So now if you look at this place here, I want to check their records. Now, this one here, you can see that this ctcsupply.com is saying ctsupply.com, Microsoft made or Microsoft.com. It means that the MS record is pointing to Office 365. When the emails are sent, they are pointing to Office 365. We did not teach all this one today. So I wanted to show us now this SPF record. You can see there, like the example I gave, these are an SPF. You can see that there are multiple IP addresses inside there. All right. So yeah, you come and see, okay, my SPF is set up correctly. So these are some of the backend things that users don't know. Why their email got delivered and why it did not get delivered. All right. So I'm checking again for, okay, does this user have their DMARC set up correctly, this domain? Why are the emails not coming in properly and all those things? So you see that, okay, is set up correctly. You can see that there's green DMARC record found. Identify the record, and there's another one for DKIM. Usually DKIM don't show on MX2 bus. You have to see it in the Office 365 space. So I'm trying to rush now so that we can round off. It's almost 5:30. Now, so domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance DMARC. When I was going to begin working here, I was asked that what's the full meaning of DMARC. I could not even get it correctly because it was quite long, you know. But I could explain what DMARC meant, but I did not know what it means, what, the abbreviations. All right, now see, it tells a receiving email server what to do. giving the result after checking SPF and DMARC. So DMARC doesn't have any business in anything yet until SPF and DMARC and DKIM has been set. So is the email an impersonated email? If DKIM says fails, if SPF shows fails, DMARC cannot say otherwise. It will send the email to quarantine. All right. It will send the email to quarantine straight. So it gives a directive on what to do. So a domain DMARC policy can be set in a variety of ways. It can instruct mail server to quarantine emails that fail SPF or DKIM or both to reject such what such emails. All right. So it gives instruction. There are other things to DMARC. Now, when you look at a proper DMARC setup, this is what you see. All right, this is what you see. Look at SPF one. I didn't write that of DKIM. So DKIM has two significant keys because it has to deal with impersonation. All right, so you can see there are two significant keys that is going to show you for DKIM. All right, I don't know if I should show you that or not, or not. All right, let's do for DMARC. So this is DMARC. So V DMARC 1, that's the name. Now it tells you that reject. So any record that fails SPF and DKIM. Remember, DMARC is saying that telling a receiving mail server what to do, giving the result after checking SPF and DMARC. So how do I check SPF and DMARC if they succeeded or not? You check it on your message header analyzer. All right. It says reject this email. It failed. Reject that email. It failed. All right. But meanwhile, there are some special cases where you see DKIM failed, SPF failed, and the DMARC is coming in. You can go and check why. I can tell you why. One of the reasons, aside from some very special cases, is that this P that you see here was set to none. All right. It was set to none. Don't behave, don't do anything. Just be looking at it. All right. So this one is saying ADKIM. This S, ADKIM here is that the domain key. This S here means strict. If when you begin to configure DMARC for users, DMARC say I want to configure DMARC for my domain. So this S here means strict. ASPF, that's sender framework policy. It means strict. It say take it strictly. Check it strictly. There's another one, I think it's called T. It should not be full of so much threat and all those things. All right, but S here means strict and all. So, and then this one is a normal thing that is always there. It's part of the programming, and then you put in your domain. All right. So this is how this works. Okay. So if we want to check, I told you I have not opened this Outlook in days, but there's no even way for me to. I cannot start troubleshooting this right now. So unfortunately, we can't use this one. I wanted to show us how to locate message header, except if somebody else can share their screen and show us their Outlook. All right, so I believe that will be all for now, even though we have a number of things that we might want to discuss, but then I believe that will be all for now. All right, so we'll just look at, yeah, so let's just check a little bit on practicals on some of the things I discussed. I said I was going to do a little practical on, I'm sorry, the Outlook is not working. I'll need to do a little bit of configuration on the profiling. Okay, so now let me start afresh. I'll come to office.com. All right. So those of us that are new, because I am an administrator in my tenant, I was talking about admin. So I'll just maybe 5-10 minutes. Let me just brush through some of the things I was trying to explain. So now this is me. I newly changed my name to Oche Michael, because if you notice now that I'm speaking, you can see Edu Ball. I don't know if it has changed, but I know that Microsoft Teams sometimes takes about 24 hours for changes to be effected. Sometimes 3 days. All right, quickly. So this is me. I'm in the admin center. I'm checking my user now. So I explained that for you to be able to use Microsoft, you need to have license. The first thing I said for you to use, so I have license. All right, I have license. So this is license that I have, Microsoft 365 E5 developer. All right, so because we work in Microsoft, so we have some of these very good licenses. All right, so these are those licenses. Now, there are users that have issues with their mailboxes. For instance, they have the right license up here, but sometimes the license that give them mailbox is unchecked. And this SN online plan too, if you remember, I highlighted that it gives you mailbox. It's unchecked, and they save it. So once it is saved, the user will still see his he will still see his license here. Oh, I have it, but mailbox is not working. Outlook doesn't seem to work. So it becomes a challenge. So you pay attention to that. Now, the next thing I said is our roles. Look at it. I'm a global admin. All right. That's why I have access to do a lot of things. I can check. I can. I can do a lot. I can do a lot. I'm a global administrator within my tenant. So once you have global administrator checked on your name, you don't need extended administrator, this one administrator. You don't need anything. Most people, they have all of them checked. Once you are global admin, once you are the landlord of a house, right? You have access to every part of the house. Of course, not into people's room, but you can just come. You can, you are the global administrator of that tenant. So you don't need to check. Most times when you check this one, this one, this one, when you check like 10 or 5 of them, you will find out that you will not be able to use um Outlook. Outlook will be telling you that error 365. This one is experience. I'm sure Deji must have encountered this issue too. So many global admins, they check everything, and they're trying to open Outlook on the web. It's not working. Why? Because he doesn't even know what to do. He doesn't know which one to respond to. There are different global administrators. There are too many administrators like that. In fact, I had a customer last week. He was telling me that he is unable to access his Outlook. I said, you have checked almost everything. Uncheck them and leave only global admin. He said, no, he doesn't want to. So we have been there, all right, trying to convince him, all right. So that's that. And then I spoke about roles. This is where you find roles and its assignment. Okay. So you come here, you assign roles, exchange administrator. Okay, I don't want my users to have too many whatever. I just want to give the guy, one simple, very simple role. Maybe this Adele Vance, you just add him to that exchange role. So you go and check, okay, what can this role do? You can assign this role. Let's see what the role, if it's written there, okay. What this role can do is full access to Exchange Online, create, and manages service requests, monitor services. So this user cannot delete anybody. This person that you just added, this Adele Vance now, he can't delete anybody in this tenant. It will just be looking and be creating mail and creating groups. If I give a global administrator, it will do a lot. If I give you user, maybe you employ a user administrator. That's why if you work in some companies, you see that what your manager can do, you cannot do it. Is this is where they came. You understand? They came here and they saw that, okay, this girl that we are employing, she's just a receptionist. Though they will just come here and give you user administrator. You now find out that the only thing you can do is reset password. Maybe customer is crying. You're one of the guys in the company is saying that, what happened? My password just expired like that. Somebody need to do this thing. They call receptionist. Okay, I'll help you. Receptionist will reset the password. Receptionist can create a new user. Maybe we have a new employee, can create a new user, and just do a little things like that. So that's the assignment of role. There are more roles. Oh, it's plenty. So you begin to look into them one after the other. Now, those ones are very critical to exchange. But in the exchange environment, because of our time, I will just touch on message trace. I just touch on message trace, and then we just take one or two so that Deji can take over. There are users that are here that are not here. That are not here. Here. Why? They are different. All the users that are here are all the users in the tenant in my organization. But all the users that are here are the users that have mailbox. You can see Exchange admin, Exchange. This one is Microsoft 365 admin. This one is Exchange. So they are different. So all the things I explained, they are here. Look at it. Message trace, rules, root domain, accepted domain, connector, high volume. So I decided to leave this one, alert and alert policies. So there are still some more that can be of great advantage to us as we begin to learn. All right. But of course, we cannot look into all of them. So I was talking about message trace. I want to determine the trace of a message. So let us come to my Outlook. This is my Outlook. We just do this practical. Like I said, I don't use this all the time. I've not even used it for a long time. So I want to do a test email. Can somebody give me their email address? Let me send you an email. So we'll trace. Okay, somebody send me an email. Can we do that in like 1 minute? This is my email address here. Eduball Academy. So that we can trace. We can just do just this short practical on message trace. If that's okay by us. Can somebody do that maybe from their Gmail? Please, can we respond so I will know if somebody is sending?
Okay, have you dropped
Yeah.
your?
The email
What's
address.
your
We are looking
Gmail,
for your.
please?
We're waiting for your.
What's your email?
Okay. Eduball Academy. It's on the screen. Top right. Eduball Academy at 4b6n 88.onmicrosoft.com.
You're supposed to send email in chat.
Okay, I'm dropping it on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
What you should
chat.
send to you.
Mm, Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The price version.
So I hope it just comes into junk so that. Okay. Okay. So this one came into inbox. So this is from C-Suite Corner. So this is from Gmail. Now we want to trace these emails. Let's trace these emails. So we'll come here. Let's say, for instance, the email went to junk. Let me see if I have a junk email. I don't. Okay. Now, so we have 3 emails that have come in. I come to my message trace. I start. And then I check my recipient, the last 6 hours. Okay. The sender let me pick 1 or 2 person. Hello, sir. Thank you for the class. Okay, let me use you. Thank you for thanking me.
Okay.
All right. So I'm copying this, yeah, and I'm checking. Okay, I'm saying is the sender. Of course, I'm the recipient. Oh, okay.
You send down.
Let me refresh that page.
Check your time
Copied it
zone.
correctly.
Check your time zone, time range. Is UTC appropriate?
UTC +1, yes.
That's the problem. You need to set it
Yeah,
to.
yeah, it's working now. I just needed to refresh that page. Thank you, thank you. So you can see now that I want to deep dive into this. Now, for most of the time, you see that the email just came in successfully. So when emails come in successfully, nobody wants to go and check how it came in and all those things. But if you have ever been in a situation where the email did not come in successfully, so now let's see if we can quickly see an email that is in. I hope I have an email in quarantine. I think I need to use this test tenant more because I barely use this now. So now we are checking. So it's telling me that the message was delivered to recipient inbox folder. It delivered 4:49 p.m. UTC. The email came in around that same time, I believe. Oh God, how do I move this thing away? So who was I using? 5:44. You can see. So somebody can complain that the email was sent 5:30 and it's coming 5:54. 10 minutes delay, but this almost the same second. Now you can see that everything is intact. But if I want to check more details on this, I use the message ID, but this has to be done with the Microsoft platform like PFM, Assist 365, on Rave before. Okay, so this is how you check message trace. But you want to go deeper. You will now prepare an extended message trace, or I come here, I say, okay, view message in Explorer. Okay, so I want to check. Now I want to have deeper understanding on this particular case. So it brings me to another environment that is called Microsoft Defender. Okay, so I believe I have the right license. If you don't have the right license, you can't get to this place here. So now you are probing deep into that email. You are probing deep into it. Okay. So I just want to leave there because our time is fast spent. Now I'm checking if I have quarantined messages. Oh, please. So if I do, it's gonna be good for us. If I don't, we just call that a day. So it's still loading. Apparently I don't. So I wanted to, explain this to us in more simpler terms. But checking the Explorer will help me to see and understand more on why probably the email was junked. You see the way it's saying that email was delivered into a recipient inbox. Where was it? In my inbox. The same way to say, if you did not deliver, you're going to see a pure red, whatever here to say email was blocked, email never got delivered. Here, inbox folder is saying, okay, email came into inbox, everything came in fine. This is the IP that the email came from. All right. So I'm checking my Explorer. I'm checking that email, say, okay, this is the email. I want to explore more on the email. Let me explore more. Let me check. Maybe you are looking for something. The email got entered quarantine. Why? Your user is shouting on you. Why did email go into quarantine? Blah 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 blah. So you see what I'm saying now. You need some administrative rules for all these things to work. All right. So I don't have the perfect test tenants to test this thing. Yeah. I had issues with my former tenant, so I barely use this one. All right. So I don't know. Let's quickly just go to questions and next few minutes and
Oh, all
let's
right.
see.
Um, thank you very much, Oche. Thank you. It has been a very interesting session. Thank you for breaking it down, everything to details, starting from the benefits of EXO. You talked about the protection solution, the EOP that we have, and the lower cost of ownership to the requirement to making use of EXO, where you talked about kiosks, plan one and plan two, and the functions of EXO that you also highlighted, and most especially the HVE feature that you also explained. That I can say personally that I have actually learned a lot of new things. So thank you so much for your time. Um, Thank you so much. So we have about 10 minutes to the end of the session. So if you have any questions, this is the time to ask now while we do justice to it. So anyone, the question signify, kindly signify so that we can treat it right now. Any question? Ah, nobody's asked the question. I thought I saw someone raised hand the other time. Um, okay. All right.
There's
Theodora.
somebody Theodora.
Okay, yeah. Theodora, please, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, good
Yes, we
evening.
can. Good
Thank you
evening.
very much for the lecture. I really learned a lot. But I want to ask, for somebody that is new to M365, what area do you think that person should focus on? That's question number one. Then I want to also ask, what is the relationship between Outlook, SharePoint, and the Exchange Online? Thank you very much.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe Deji want to
Oche,
answer that. Yeah.
no, you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Um, Let me answer the last one first. The relationship between Outlook, SharePoint, and Exchange Online. Now they have different functions. So Outlook is basically like we have highlighted, is for mail flow, is to send emails, right? To send emails, to work with calendars, task, right? Set reminders and all those things. And SharePoint is basically used to store data, right? It's more like that's why most people confuse SharePoint and OneDrive. Looks like more like the same thing, right? Just that one is a site and the other is not. And then Exchange Online is like the mother that gave birth to Outlook, all right? Even though Outlook has its own standalone, because we have a different department for Outlook that they work, but they still deal with um, Outlook. They still deal with Exchange Online. So Exchange Online is what we have just looked at. That environment, that Exchange Admin Center, everything, in fact, everything is Exchange Online. But inside Exchange Online, you see Outlook there, right? Under Outlook, we have Outlook application, we have Outlook on the web, Outlook mobile. Then there's Outlook Mac for MacBook, people that use Mac, iPad, and all those things. All right. So when you talk about Outlook, you cannot deal Outlook properly without Exchange Online. Most of the retention policies, mail flows, if they are manipulated on the Exchange Online platform, it will affect the Outlook. So if I create a rule to stop you from receiving emails on Outlook, you will not be able to receive Outlook. So Exchange Online is like the mother, right? And Outlook application or web are like the children. Do you understand? Like the governing body, like Tinubu and Nigerians. All right. So then there is then your first question, somebody that who is coming in
Sorry,
new.
can I Oche, let me just
Okay.
add something
Yeah.
to what you just said now. So for you asked about relationship between Exchange Online, Outlook, and SharePoint. So for Exchange Online, Exchange Online is like the feature in Microsoft 365 that controls emails. You know, why Outlook? Outlook is just an application. Outlook is an application that you use to actually access your emails. So we have a desktop version of Outlook. That's the application. We have the web version of Outlook. That's the one that you need to sign in through the browser. And we also have a mobile version of Outlook. So Outlook is like, what give you access to your email. But Exchange Online, in quotes, it is the one that controls the email. Without Exchange Online, there's nothing Outlook wants to view, or there's nothing Outlook wants to see.
Yeah.
So it is Outlook that is the channel which we access our Exchange Online feature. And then SharePoint, is a different tool in Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 is broad. There is Teams, there is SharePoint, there's Exchange, there are a lot of other tools, right? So SharePoint is a separate tool entirely, majorly for documents. It serves as a document library. It's used for sharing data and saving your files. So that is the major difference between the. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
So
So the first question,
okay, yeah, go on,
y-
Oche. Thank you.
yeah, you'd need to, if you have basic computer knowledge already, right? It will be good, like normal desktop publishing, because if you want to come into this area, it's more like the back end of the front end. So the front end is the Word, most people know PowerPoint, Word, Excel, all those things. So if you want to become an administrator, right, in this environment, you start from the basics, that's Office 365 basics. All right. You just, I don't know, I think
Yeah.
Deji,
All right.
yeah,
So
they can train you in this area. All right. So you just learn the basics of Office 365, learn Office 365. So you start from, the first thing they'll teach you is how to create a user. Right, then you start from there until you begin to enlarge. I believe there should be trainings like this where the
okay.
G and the community can, yeah.
All
All
right,
right. All right. Thank you. Oche, thanks
Oche.
so much for that. And thank you. Is it Oche or Oche, or please correct me so I don't murder the name.
Oche.
Eh? Oche, okay.
Oche.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so Theodora, I think the first place for you to start is this. I'm going to share a link with you in the chat window, and then that link is going to take you to the YouTube channel of all the past sessions we've had. I mean, last year we started actually from the basics even till we got to the advanced stage. So I think you will need to go look at that video. You will see introduction. There is actually introduction to M365, the fundamental. So I've shared it, I mean, the link with you on the chat window. So I expect that you go look at that, and then that will help you. Mhm. But I think other than that, the guys on the call have done justice to the answer they gave you around what you are trying to get. The difference between Office 365 and then what they call it, and the other applications really. So, but just a little bit to add to it is the fact that you should be at the back of your mind that M365 is a suite of products, which means it has a lot of services and applications in it. That is a suite of products, applications, and services that are intended for you to be that are intended to be used for collaboration and to improve productivity of any organization. That is what the M365 is. Now, in that M365, you can divide it into services, you can divide it into application. So when you talk about application, you can further divide applications to productivity application, or you call it business application. So an example of a productivity application is what you have just mentioned. Things like your what, like your SharePoint, like your Outlook, your OneDrive for business. When you hear the word productivity, it is like what you use daily at work for you to be productive, so to say. And then when you hear the word business application, those are things that are you are actually using to drive a lot of business automation application. So I don't want to elaborate too much on it. I would rather prefer you watch the video, and then what comes to mind, you'll be hearing things like Power Apps, Power Automate, if you've ever heard of it. Those are like business applications, although they still fall under productivity, but you'll be hearing things like CRM, all of that. They are all under the M365 kind of suit. But what I need you to get is this. Take, for example, your Gmail. Today, you go to Gmail, you enter email, you send email, but you never know what is doing that mail flow at the back end. You never know. You just open your Gmail browser, you type mail to, okay, let's say Edu Academy at this, you send it. It goes. But you never know what is doing that operation at the back end. What is doing that operation at the back end that you don't know is that there is a server, an email server or a mail server, whatever name you want to call it, that is actually carrying out that transaction. The only thing that Google has given you is just the interface for you to do what? Send your mail by logging to Gmail. So the same thing with Exchange Online and Outlook. For Exchange Online, that is the mail server that is actually carrying out the whole tasks around your mail flow. But what Microsoft has given you is that they gave you an interface of what, whether Outlook on the web or Outlook desktop or even the mobile one, just like you can use Gmail on your mobile phone for you to be able to send your mails out. So that's just the simple explanation that I'm sure you can relate with. So that tells you that for me to be, I'm sending mail. So people used to think that they mix up Outlook with Exchange Online. So they think it is, I mean, they get confused. But the Outlook is just like what we refer to as a client interface for you to be able to send out mail. Whereas the Exchange Online is actually the server that is doing all of the processing of the mail flow. I hope that is clear. So, but what I would advise you do, like I said, is that just click on this. You will see all of the recordings, even from when we started. You see the recordings. Just look for the one that is M365 fundamentals. It is actually going to break it down for you. Then you can now take it up. You will even see introduction to Exchange Online. Right now, what Oche has given us is a very deep dive. So if you are very new, it might be too much of, oh, this is big. But if you go into those channels, you will see an introduction to Exchange Online that actually breaks it down. Then you can now use this one to ride on it. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, then. All right, guys.
Um,
I'm not taking over your
I-
session, so take it on, please.
Thank you very much, MJ. Thank you. So Joshua Adigun, you can unmute.
Hi everyone. Good evening.
Evening.
I think just to add to what you said earlier, DG, about Outlook, right? I know MJ has said a lot about it, and Ed also. So you mentioned, DG, that Outlook is a solution that is using accessing our emails, right? So just to add, we are talking about Microsoft here. We are talking about Microsoft 365. And then the presenter mentioned Gmail, MJ also mentioned Gmail. So just to add to what you said, Outlook, you can also add other uh, email providers like Gmail, AOL, Yahoo on your Outlook, right? So Outlook is not just for Microsoft, right? Just it's not just from accessing Microsoft emails. You can add other email provider on it, right? So you have to carry out one or two settings. Yeah, that'll be all for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for noting that. So Outlook, you can add it, it is not just for Microsoft. You can use other email services on it also. All right. So next person, Michael. Michael, please unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Hello?
Evening. Good evening. We can hear you.
Okay. So my question is about the number of mails that one can send. There's been this scenarios severally in my office where some people want to send email and they get the notification that they get an email from Microsoft that they've sent that they cannot send or that they've exceeded the number of mails, number of recipients that they can send mail to, that they've exceeded it. And then there's a particular unit that actually requires being able to send mails to a lot of people, like 700 to 800 people per day sometimes. So they get that notification. So the one of them in the unit resorted to using mail merge in Excel. Using mail merge to do that. Now the question is, does that HVE that you mentioned, is that the issue it's going to fix? Is it going to fix that recipient limits?
All right, thank you. Okay, Oche can
Yes,
answer the question.
yes, that's its assignment. Let me quickly share my screen. Let me just show you. We may not be able to do a lot of practical on that, but so if I come back to exchange, that's what is there to resolve. Meanwhile, if you check Microsoft limitations, as in email limitations, you will see why some emails cannot be sent, right? So I said you can add up to 20 HV, high volume emails. So you see, high volume emails is service to send mass mailing communication using the SMTP endpoint. So I added it. There is a documentation to look, to read as concerning this HV. You see, our class is a crash course. So you need to understand that there are still maybe one or two settings to set up here. So these are the mail users you will just create. You understand? So you don't need to, it mustn't be a user in the tenant with a mailbox. You just create random users. When you have done that, you just click on next. All right. This is a solution to that. I think they just sent me that documentation. So I'm going to drop that documentation in the group. So this is a solution. So ask the team to try it out. Right. So you go through that documentation. I believe maybe possibly in nearest future, other classes might be taken specifically for this, or just to deal that. But this is a solution based on what I said. Yes, absolutely correct. This just came up 2 months ago, April 1st. Microsoft just implemented it. If you can see, it's still in preview, but people are already beginning to use it as at now.
Okay, so if one creates this HVE user right now, that's where the mail will be going out from. Like you send a
Yes,
mass mail like that, you'll have to
Yes,
have access
that
to
is
that
what you
user
would
account
use
and
to
use it to send
send
the mail.
emails.
that user,
Okay.
that mail user. Yes, that's what I used to send the email.
Okay.
So
One other thing, please.
sure.
The recipients limit that I first mentioned, is there a way to extend it? For example, I think it's usually 500 or so. That's when they get that email that they've exceeded their recipient limits. So is it possible to extend it at the back end on Exchange Online? Like maybe to an additional 100, maybe to like 600 or 700, if the organization requires that.
I doubt Microsoft don't do bulk until this HVE. Okay, so yeah, so it's best you look at, there's no way to extend it, although there's somewhere, trying to remember, within within the security side or so, you can just drag something to 7. I'm trying to figure out that part. I think it's
So
broad.
I think just to write on that,
Yeah.
for
Mm.
the recipient limit, there is actually a Microsoft documentation that mentions the sending limits per user and per day. So you cannot actually increase it. It's a restriction that has been placed by Microsoft for security reasons, because initially Microsoft does not support bulking, like sending bulk emails. You want to send email to 20,000 people in a day. You don't do that. So until this HVE, right? So if you're not going to use HVE, you will not be able to send more than, you cannot actually extend I don't think I've not heard of that. Like you can extend the limits.
Yeah. So I just
So
sent you the two documentation. So the second documentation is for the limit. So you see that, you study that, and then discuss with your team that okay, we can't do more than this. And then the first one is for the high volume. You can you can help you to configure properly with your organization.
all right, I believe that answers your question, Michael.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other question before we call it a day? Okay. All right. So I want to believe there is a none other. Okay. I see someone. Tony. Yeah. Let's just in 1 minute if we can take your question. Tony, please
Uh,
unmute.
yeah, so good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good evening. We can hear you.
Yeah. So my question is not actually like a question. So I just want to like I don't know, I can't see any message on my chat box because there is this person that said he wants to drop a link to a YouTube videos of what you've been doing in the past, which I'm interested in. Probably I check it out too because I'm new too. So, and I want to learn more about this. So the person was talking about the link. So, but I couldn't see anything on my. Or is there another platform which I do not know or something like that?
Okay,
Are
Tony,
you
are you on
joining?
our WhatsApp? Are you on our WhatsApp group?
No, 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 no. I actually joined through someone. Like someone told me to because I joined through someone though. I'm not on the
Okay.
WhatsApp group.
Okay, you know what you can do? But if you
Okay.
go to our LinkedIn, maybe